Well, good morning. Welcome to Stroke of Genius podcast. I wanted to come in here and let you know this is a pre-recorded podcast, but I wanted to come on and also tell you thank you. Thank you for being here. I think you'll find Gregg, my guest today, because it's a pre-recorded podcast. Amazing man. So, and hope you enjoy the show. Let's get right into it. I'll put it on the air and put it on, but thank you for being here. Well, welcome to Stroke of Genius podcast Survivor Experience. And if I get a real special guest for you, his name is Gregg. And we don't talk a lot about AVMs, but he's known out there in the social media world as an AVM superhero. We're gonna meet him today. I'm super excited about it. Him and I talked a year ago. We're gonna talk right now. Gonna be involved in a podcast right now. So let's raise a little stroke awareness and get right into it. Well, great. Good morning.
How you doing, sir?
It really is great. I'm so excited about. I see what you do out there on Instagram and place, and it's just amazing what you're doing, bro. Just keep it up. You're encouraging me, inspire me. But for the people that may not know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Aaron. I really appreciate you contacting me. My name is Greg Graham, also known as the AVM Superhero on Instagram, AVM underscore superhero. Um, I just do a lot of different things to help out people that don't have a voice. Uh, Before I had my AVM rupture, my stroke, I was, a instructional designer. I was very fluent in speaking. I was a teacher, corporate trainer, different things of that nature. And then when I had my stroke, everything fell apart for me. And then I wanted to make sure that people that couldn't talk that had a stroke has a voice. So I made up a podcast called Deaf Taught Us How to Live. You can find that on Instagram, on pretty much all different types of social media.
Repeat that one time more time slower. What is the podcast?
Deaf Taught Us How to Live. You can find that on YouTube underneath AVM Superhero, as well as on Spotify. You can also find it on Apple Podcasts and not Stroke Warrior. Yeah, it is strokewarriorradio.com. It's all on those particular things. So feel free to check them out. But I also do what's called an AVM Superhero Caregiver Basket giveaway. So each and every month, I give out a caregiver basket to different caregivers in the United States, just because I know how it is as a caregiver going through all the stuff that we give them as a stroke survivor. Once everybody goes home, it gets very difficult for them. So I wanted to reach out to them and give them something to say that we still love them.
It's amazing. You are talking about earlier the difference between a stroke survivor and a stroke thriver. You, brother, are epitome of stroke thriver. See, I believe it like you do probably that we can't do nothing about what happened to us, but we can do everything about how we respond to what happened to us. And that really is what makes stroke thrivers different. It's the way we respond. Everybody, in my opinion, has stroke thriver inside them. They just don't realize how powerful they really are. And it amazes me that you call yourself a superhero because most people, I create a stroke, to being a superhero, but you really are. You really make an impact on this world. So tell me, let's back up a little bit. I want to know a little more about you. How
Okay.
old were you when you had your AVM?
I was 41 years old. I was driving in Kentucky, and all of a sudden, I was having a massive headache, and then I was having a stroke and rupture of my AVM.
Now you said you were driving. Now, what did you crash or did you pull off the side of the road or what happened?
No, I was talking to my mother because I used to also. I stopped doing the instructional design and training, and I was doing RV transports from Indiana, from the manufacturers to all over the United States. And this particular time, I was driving back home. I was driving a Ram 2500 truck, driving it back home, and I was talking to my mother about one of my schoolmates I went to high school with, that she goes to her church and she had two strokes, and then all of a sudden I was having mine, and I was telling my mother, I have an extreme headache. It doesn't seem like it's going away, and she told me to pull over and call 911. I called 911. Ambulance got me, took me to one hospital, and then they airlifted me to Louisville, Kentucky.
Wow, I'm a spiritual man. And I believe at that point, what you just told me, God intervened because you could have been on the road driving and you would could have read to killed yourself. But you're on the phone with your mom that exact time. She told you to pull over, you said, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that was one of the weird thing because you know a lot of people think that it's a big miraculous thing that could happen to have a stroke. I was having a massive stroke, but I still had my wherewithal to actually pull over after she told me to and call 911. Because you're right, I could have crashed, destroyed a family, destroyed a little kid, did all types of stuff, and I'm thanking God that that didn't happen.
I do too. That's a miracle, bro. Really, that right there is a miracle. I'll be honest with you. That's a miracle. But do you have any early warning signs of stroke or AVM?
No, not really warning signs, but because this AVM is an arteriovenous malformation, only 1% of the world population has it. I do know that there was things that was happening to me within my life because this is a thing that you're conceived with, and it is bound to rupture. So it ruptured when I was 41 years old. But there was a lot of things in my life that I didn't realize uh, that this thing was actually taking a hold of me. Like I would read things and write things, and I would think it's perfect, but it's completely wrong because the way my body reacted to it, or say it, or write it, was completely wrong, even though I thought it was completely right. So I saw those things, but I didn't have any 5 minutes, 4 minutes, excuse me, a day before warning signs. It's just I had a headache and it was bad. It felt like a drill was inside of my head trying to come outside of my head. That was the
I
only thing
know
that
about. I know the feeling because I had a pretty serious subbacteroid brain aneurysm
happened.
first. I was
Mhm.
in a coma for 2 weeks, then had my stroke. So I understand massive headaches. There's nothing like them. Yeah, and I describe like ice pick being put in my top of my head and a thick hammer pounded into my head. My
Exactly.
brain. As it felt like. And I
Very.
was 47, you were younger. But I'm curious now, what was your life like? You said what did you do before?
Well, it seemed like I was a jack of all trades. I was a corporate trainer. I was also an instructional designer. But at the time that I was having the AVM rupture, I was having my own business picking up RV trailers from the manufacturer in Indiana and transport all over the United States. So at that time, I was a RV transporter.
Right, right. Well, that's really great. I'm actually no RV. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know who you were. But what amazed me, Greg, and we're not talked about in the green room, is that there are stroke survivors and there are stroke survivors.
Okay.
And it's all, and people, if you don't know out there, the difference between Greg and me and you, maybe, is that there are some stroke survivors that have stroke. and then wait to die and just sit there and do nothing with it. But what they don't understand, Greg, is that they also can be superheroes. They can actually do something with their stroke, like you did.
Right, right.
What advice would you give that? Say we have a new stroke survivor out there talking or out there listening. What advice would you give a newer stroke survivor out there?
Um, be patient with yourself
Yeah.
and acceptance. You have to accept who you are, and you want to get back to that old person, and in all actuality, you probably will never get back to the old person. I'm not even talking about physically. I'm talking about mentally. You have changed. You have learned how fragile life is. You learn how fragile that you could have died and you survived it. So now you have a completely different aspect of life that probably 90% of this world doesn't understand. And if you just sit there and just wait and say, everybody's mad, everybody's angry, I am jealous of you because you could walk and doing all that stuff, you are missing out on what your life is actually have. You actually have a whole lot more than you could possibly imagine. You never even thought that you was spiritual or mentally able to actually do certain miraculous things, but now you are. Just because you're so much dependent on your physical body is basically lying to you. Your mental body is much more powerful and it can achieve much more and reach much more people. So just stop complaining, stop blaming other people, stop saying negative words to yourself, and move forward and live.
I think you bring up a really good point. I'll back up and go to it again. Which is you probably never, the people, they use the word recovery out there in our realm
Right.
and in the hospitals, the word recovery. Well, this ain't no broken leg, Toto. This ain't no cold or flu. This is a serious brain injury. So, like you just heard Greg, and I will back him up and saying that you probably won't get back who you were. I said, don't try, right, Greg? Don't try. Accept who you are, like Greg says, and move forward with your life. You say there's a lot more to life after stroke. What do you mean by that?
Aaron, it's like when before I had my stroke, I made a post about this. Before I had my stroke, it's like you're driving in a car and you're driving in the car and going 40, 50, 60 miles per hour and you're just flying down that street. Now, when you have a stroke, it's like you're outside of that car and now you're walking on that same street. And now you're noticing, oh, there's an old house
Oh,
over there. There is lilies over there. There's a little kid that likes to play on the swings over there. You realize there's an incline in the street because now you're actually taking your time to notice things instead of just being in the fast lane. Before our strokes, we thought we had everything that we wanted. Maybe we had our education, we had our houses, we had money, but we had not ourselves. We didn't know who we were. Now we have time to actually see who we are. We could sit down and like, okay, I can't walk, but what's never going to leave me is those thoughts that's always in my head. I have to control those thoughts. I got to examine those thoughts and I have to be present. A lot of times when we don't have any physical disabilities, we just forget everything. We just normally go through. And you could probably attest to this yourself, Eric. Like for me, it was hard to go up and down the stairs. I used to have to look at each and every one of the steps and make sure I don't fall. But normal people that don't have a stroke, they just go up and down the stairs. They don't even think about it. So this life is different. You just have more of a mental focus being a stroke survivor, and that helps you to be more a person that is more humanitarian instead of who you was before.
oh, that man, there was a lot there. There's a lot to unpack there because I'm with you, bro. I had my stroke at age 47, and I thought I had the world. I could do anything as human. I could do it physically, but I think I never heard it said that way before. Where having a stroke takes you out of the car that you used to go 50 miles an hour down the road on. Now you look at life. I have a dream, I have a goal of writing a book before I die called Stroke, The Journey of Within. Because for me, and it sounds like you maybe, that stroke really turned my mind inward. I began to examine my own life. Like you said, I took for granted so much of life, so much of life. Now you and I are actually basking where I actually find myself in the morning stopping and listening to a bird sing. I would never done that.
Right,
And
right.
Mike, I think great. I think for you and I to hit stop a pause, look at life a bit, look at the kids playing a swing or listen to birds singing. That
Right.
really is what life is about, right, Bo? It really is. So now I'm curious, were you were you married at the time or was
I was married.
and so you're no longer married, correct?
No, I got divorced after my aneurysm
All
rupture.
right, so now that was I'm assuming stroke played a big role in that, had some role in that. So
Uh, no,
I
I
don't I
wouldn't
have a
say
yeah,
it
I
didn't, Aaron. But go ahead with your line of thought.
well, I don't wanna get too much into that because it really is important. What I really wanna focus on people what I want you to see is there two ways you can respond with stroke or like in Gregg's part, an AVM, which is a different type of stroke. But you can either respond, you can run from it or learn from it. Two things.
Right.
There's only two ways you can either be a stroke victim or you can be a stroke warrior. You actually out there have the ability to help people. You could use your stroke like Greg and I are doing, help people, encourage them, and inspire them. Now, your podcast, give me some. You really what day is your podcast? Because I want you people to all subscribe to his YouTube channel and listen to what he say, because he doesn't know it. But I watch it, and he's inspired me quite well, man, me even knowing it. He's inspired me on Instagram. So tell me, when is your podcast? What time? And where can we watch it?
Okay. So my podcast, we do a live airing every Thursday. I try to do it for 12 episodes a year. So right now I'm on the eighth episode. So after the 12th episode, it'll be done to the following year. But you can find that on AVM Superhero on YouTube. Also, the same name on TikTok. I do little reels on there. And you can also find it on Spotify at Deaf Taught Us How to Live, as well as strokewarriorradio.com. I am played probably daily on that around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to
Wow.
say that, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. But I Google AVM superhero.
Yeah, you've seen me.
I keep a pages of content. So good for you, bro.
Thank
But
you.
I'm curious. You're out there a lot. What do you see the most common pitfalls stroke survivors get into? What is the kind of a way of looking at their stroke that may not be the best for them?
Um, there's a couple of things that I actually see, but a couple of things that really shine to me right now is looking for other people for advice on themselves. And what I mean by that, someone will come to me like, Greg, how long did it take you to walk? I'm like, that's a very difficult question to answer because for me, I know what I had to do and I know what type of condition I had. You know, your stroke could be in a different part of your brain. So you're not looking within yourself to actually say, okay, can I do this or can I not do it? If you keep on looking to other people, then you're really, you're losing the battle because you're not doing that self journey, that inwards journey. And the second thing that really gets to me that I don't believe people understand is they're not kind to themselves. They say negative words to themselves. They don't realize how much impact it has when you actually tell yourself that you're beautiful, you're smart, you're strong, you are adequate, you are a man, you are a woman. That motivates you. But if you keep on saying to yourself, you're stupid, you, you are the worst thing on earth, you're ugly, look at nobody will love you. If you don't love yourself, who will? If you don't motivate yourself, who will? So you have to do everything within yourself in order for this to transform into something more beautiful. Instead of being a stroke survivor, like Aaron said, you be a stroke thriver.
That is so much there, bro. So proud of you. That's so awesome. You know, it's how we respond. It's how we look at things. And I think I'm with you. I think most truth fighters that look at their life as it's over. I did the same thing. I was suicidal when I first had my stroke, and now look at me. You have to embrace. I think where you said in the beginning of the podcast, you've got to accept who you are and what you are
Yeah,
because it gives you a place to start. Don't stop. Your life's not over. Greg and I here to tell you, so stroke person, that your life has just begun. There's a whole nother life that it's not going to be look the same, right, Greg? It's not going to be the same life. Like you said earlier, won't get back. But you can make a difference. And I really, really am impressed with what you're doing on there. So, you
thank you.
know, it's amazing to me that we could go through such dark and face death, look death square in the eyes, and say, "I'm not dying. I'm going to take what the cards I've been dealt and do something great with them." And I, I mean, AVM superhero. If I, what do you see yourself doing in the future? I'm curious. Do you have any plans for the future? What what's happening? What are you going to keep doing this? Keep doing AVM.
I don't. That's a very interesting question. I don't think that way, Aaron. What I think about is what am I doing right now? Because I don't want to miss a single moment. You
Wow.
know, as this stroke happened to me, my daughters were 11 and 12 years old. Now they're 19 and 18 years old. And that time flew by. You know, all this stuff happened. And I was really, I'm trying to tell these to you, I was the same way. I wasn't suicidal, but I was very in a dark place too. But I had to do a transformation. But I was so concerned at first with playing basketball again. I was so concerned of, you know, doing cliff diving, doing all of this types of exotic things. But I was looking at that as my goal, as the measure stick of who I am, and didn't realize that life was passing me by. So to answer your question, Aaron, I don't really look towards that thing anymore because that doesn't happen, then I'm gonna be depressed again. I'm looking at right now, I'm doing an interview with Aaron, and I'm having a great time doing that interview. And I'm doing my best to give him great answers. So that's everything is whatever that moment is, because I want to give that person that I'm with at that time the most of myself. And if I
Wow,
can
great.
do
That's
that,
awesome. That's awesome. I mean, the biggest buzzword living the moment. It's so true, isn't it? Your stroke will kind of make you shelf all your parties and then make you learn to live the moment. And Greg, I'm want living the moment too, and I'm working on it, bro. I'm really inspired by what you're saying because it makes you appreciate life more, living the moment.
absolutely.
Well, I'm curious, Greg. My dog's barking.
Hey, dog was being interviewed too.
Yeah, it happens. But I'm curious. Let's one was out of time now. But what's the one piece of advice? Again, I'm asking because I'm going to close out the show with it. You've been able to help us stroke for a few years. What one piece of advice would you give them that would change that may help them?
um, this is what I tell a lot of people, especially if you can't walk, you can't talk, and all this other things that's probably happened to you after your stroke. The bit of advice that I give to you is if you're working on that and that never happens, what what would you do with your life if that doesn't happen? Because a lot of people are waiting for that particular day. Stop waiting for that particular day. Like I said, live your life. Do what you can do right now. If
Mm.
you can just lift one finger and then tomorrow you can lift two, that's a party. That's a big celebration. Celebrate it.
Wow.
Hey, I can't walk, I can't write anymore. Forget about that stuff. Think about where you at right now and how you going to be when you move your little fingers like that. That is the big celebration. Stop looking at the big goals. Enjoy the minor goals.
Well, that just I personally think if that would make me sit back and kick back, go, man, living in the moment, that is living in the moment. So, Greg, I can't thank you enough for being here. We're pretty much out of time. But, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for getting a lot of this. And Greg is really, really active on Instagram, right?
Yeah,
So go just AVM Superhero on Instagram. Check him out.
AVM underscore superhero.
Oh, AVM underscore superhero.
Yes, sir.
Greg, thank you so much for being here. Would you mind coming back on? We have this 30 minutes by so quick. So would you please come back on and talk to me again sometime?
Anytime you're ready for me, Aaron, I've been waiting for you. You have the long waiting list, sir. It's not me. It's you, the long waiting list, sir. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready, sir.
All right, Greg. Have a great time. Thank you again for being here.
No problem, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, bye. All right, there it is, people. You got to meet him. That was great. The AVM underscore superhero. Definitely look him up. Go to Instagram, check out his content. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast and thank you for being out there, Greg. I appreciate it. So, everybody, have a great day.
Set me on fire.